Greetings! My name is Mitchell Scott Lampert, and this is the first episode of what I hope will be a fairly interesting video blog. Today, we are going to learn how to do the following 6 impossible things. First will be the impossible paper fold. Number 2, we are going to walk through a hole in a postcard. Number 3, we are going to learn how to knock down any wall using only our bare hands. Number 4, we are going to draw a 2-sided polygon. Then we are going to create a triangle with 3 90-degree angles. And then finally, we're going to do the most impossible thing of all. We are going to scientifically prove that God exists. Oh yes, we are. Sound impossible? Well, let's get started then. To make an impossible paper fold, first you fold a piece of paper in half. Then you make 3 cuts, 1 on one side and 2 on the other. Then you simply give the paper a half twist. As long as no one picks it up, they might not ever figure out how it was done. Have you ever dreamed of walking through the picture of a postcard? Let me show you how. Some of you probably already know this one, but you can cut a hole in a postcard big enough to walk through, first by folding the card in half. Then cut lines into alternating sides down its length. Careful not to cut any of them all the way across. Theoretically, if you make these cuts thin enough, you would be able to stretch the card around a house, but you don't have to go that far on your first try. Then you unfold the card and cut it down the center, but don't cut the top or bottom of the card. Then finally stretch it out. And now I'm going to walk through it. Just stretch it out, like so. And there you go. And now I will demonstrate how you can knock down any wall using only your bare hands. Okay, here we go. Get it? Before we go on to the next item, I figured I'd give you a word of warning. The last item on our list, the one about scientifically proving God exists, well, chances are you're not going to like that one very much. I don't care who you are, you're probably going to hate me for it. So I just figured I'd let you know. Now, back to the impossible. There are 2 steps to drawing a 2-sided polygon. The first step is to draw an X on a sheet of paper. I'm using 2 colors so you can distinguish the lines, but you don't have to. However, you must make sure that the tops and the bottoms of each of the lines match up. In step number 2, we are going to use a bit of tape. Roll your sheet of paper into a tube and tape it up so it stays. When you do that, you will now have a single closed shape that uses only 2 lines. We are not going to use a sheet of paper to draw a triangle with 3 right angles. Instead, we'll use a sphere.
There is a way to calculate where to draw the triangle, but if you use Scotch tape to establish the outline, you don't have to worry about that so much. Just reposition the tape until you get it right. If one goes across the equator, the next one goes at a right angle close to the top of the ball. The third one should not be all that terribly difficult to figure out eventually. Then, with the tape as your guide, draw the triangle. Once that's done, remove the tape.
Yeah, in case you haven't noticed, a lot of these impossible things are really just different ways to stretch some of the words I've been using so far. One of them was a pun, a couple of them resorted to non-Euclidean geometry, etc., etc. So before we begin this final task, I figured I would try to define some of the terms I'll be using a little more responsibly this time. So, how do we define science? Well, there are a small number of perfectly valid definitions one can find in a dictionary, a few of which will be noted above. But I would like to share with you my personal favorite definition of science: the discipline of acquiring new empirical knowledge. See, I like it because it emphasizes what professional scientists expect to get out of their work. Some will say that the word empirical is a little redundant up there, but I like to keep it in to emphasize the fact that purely ontological arguments don't really count as knowledge. So, how do I define empirical then? Well, my own quirky sort of definition goes like this: that which can be isolated, measured, touched, tasted, seen, heard, smelled, scrutinized, taxonomized, and customized. So, for example, I can prove scientifically and empirically that this pencil exists. I can measure it, I can hold it, I can look at it, I can smell it, and I can even taste it. And observe what happens when I hold it up, its tip, against this sheet of paper. It makes a mark. So I could also scrutinize it, taxonomize it, it's a number 2 pencil, and I can even customize it. See, in this case, I actually carved my name into the wood with a knife. Of course, I could have ordered them with my name printed on them instead, but where's the fun in that? So if any scientists doubt that this pencil exists, they can examine it independently for themselves. So, how does one prove scientifically that God exists? Well, first we need to define the word God in such a way that is empirically detectable. Well, what if we define God as this pencil that I'm holding in my hand right now? I mean, I've already built a pretty solid case that this pencil exists scientifically, right? So if we define the word God to mean this pencil right here, then that means God exists scientifically as well. Now, I can hear some of the objections coming, that my argument is nothing more than some absurdist equivocation or linguistic booby trap, that this has nothing to do with the God of faith, or that this whole video has suddenly taken some sort of outrageously offensive turn. But I warned you that you weren't going to like it. Well, according to my watch, it is now about 9 a.m. in the morning or so, which means I just did 6 impossible things before breakfast. So I wonder what I should do next. Should I go tumbling down a rabbit hole, or should I go for a meal at Milliways?